We'll just, for the record, when he comes in, we'll make notes.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. All right, we'll let Justin jump in on us later. All right, let's call this meeting to order. Shelley, can you do roll call, please?
Danny, are we ready? Yes. Okay.
Thumbs up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, I'll do roll call. Okay. Madam Chair, Tracy Quick.
Here.
Vice Chair, Mary Lowry.
Present.
Commissioner Art Warren.
Here.
Commissioner Debbie Cox.
Present.
And we are waiting for Commissioner Justin Acevedo. He is trying to log into Zoom. So when he comes in, I'll note that for the record. Yes.
Freak out and get on here.
We do have a quorum.
Okay, very good. Then we're ready to move on here. So our first item of business is consideration to approve the June 12th, 2025 meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look at it? And anyone have any questions or concerns?
Move to approve June 12th, 2025 meeting minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the June 12, 2025 meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay? Minutes are approved.
Excuse me, could you speak up? I can't hear you. Thank you.
Sure.
Business, item B, consideration of a request for design and site plan approval by Orcott Wilson Winslow Architects for a new 4,559 square foot medical clinic located on the southwest corner of US 60 and Regis Road, APN 206-04-007Y, case number SP-2025-02. Dana?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, Commissioners. As the agenda item expressed, this is a proposed 4,500 square foot new medical clinic by Coal Valley Medical Center, Regional Medical Center. And you can see on the screen right now, the red lines are county parcel lines showing parcel boundaries. And this would be the subject parcel that we're discussing, where this proposed medical clinic is to be located. And as you can see, shares parking with Walmart, mostly in Cow Ranch, and then obviously cross access over to the other uses in Taco Bell to the west. That said, you have two entrances into the property, and currently the traffic signal is located right here. And there's a right-in to the east side of the property, and a right-in as well, and right out on the west side of the property, and I apologize, full motion access on the east side. So with that, I'll hop right into the site plan. And I'll back up to the demo plan. Currently, here's the proposed site plan. Currently, we have all the parking for the most part along this frontage where it's shown as green right now. This proposal, here's the building location wrapped with parking for the clinic, obviously. Now, it should be understood that obviously all of that parking, that seated parking for the Cow Ranch, Walmart, and the other areas are shared through CCNRs and use restrictions. So when we look at parking calculations for any new use or new development within these parcels that are related, for the shared parking, we look at the overall parking calculations and make sure that we're not under parking. So that was provided, and we have those calculations, and we're still in excess of the minimum required parking spaces for the entire development that shares that parking. So with that, as I mentioned, this is the right-in only, right-out access point to the medical clinic. Currently, there are parking spaces where this green area is shown on the north. This proposal will introduce landscaping for that area and bring that portion of this frontage meeting our 20-foot required landscape frontage ordinance. So straightforward, pretty simple site plan. Parking all along the front, main entrance right here facing the roadway. With access, there is a small retaining wall. The site is located within a 100-year floodplain and has been designed to elevate above that floodplain to receive elevation certificate and permit from flood control. They've reviewed this and plans to comply with flood requirements. You see the new trash enclosure that's being proposed on the southeast or west corner of the lot. 88 parking spaces and access via the sidewalk network there. Expansive landscape adjacent to the building and all the way around. And then new additional landscape islands, I'll scroll down here, landscape islands within, off property actually, within the Cal Ranch portion and Walmart portion of the property. So that's a welcome introduction of landscaping in this parking lot that's otherwise pretty vacant of landscape. So it really should be right, being central to that overall complex. Make a nice impact in addition to that frontage and that curvature as you come into the community from the west. So with that, I will just back up. I'll go ahead and show you the landscape plan. Again, there'll be landscape planters, trees proposed. There is the existing Cal Ranch sign located on this property. And we do have a condition of approval that we make sure the property owner has the ability to allow Cal Ranch to continue to maintain that sign or do whatever they need. They should have an issue or be struck or something like that. And cover them from any potential issues that might happen from that Cal Ranch property. So yeah, that's again pretty straightforward. I will show you the architectural elevations, which are there. That's the elevation of the front of the building. And there's that main entrance, and I think we have better elevations. There's the overall site plan within the complex. And again, that circulation and access point, I think this will be a nice addition, again, to cleaning up some of the current experience when you drive into this parking lot. It's just pretty much striping only. So having some of this curve will help frame these drive aisles and create more orderly traffic patterns and experience. We have photometrics, floor plan, and here are the building elevations. North elevation, so this is the front elevation that would be facing US 60. Again, you can see that elevated pad. They have ramps, ADA ramps, and so forth to provide access in compliance with ADA requirements. This would be the east elevation. We're looking from the Walmart side, attractive with breaking up the elevation with windows and some massing there. Rear, our west elevation. This would be facing the west entrance drive-through, and again, we've got significant landscape area along that portion of the building. And that's it. With that, staff is recommending approval. I know the applicant is available should you have any questions or they wish to make a presentation, as well as the architect and engineer on this project, and I would be happy to respond to any questions. You see before you staff's recommendation with, for the most part, customary conditions of approval, with exception to item 5 and 6, just items that we know. Since we're constructing on Walmart's parking lot, we'll work with the applicants to make sure we have access to work on that from Walmart. And again, trying to address items like 4 and 5. And then we're also, item number 5, trying to address item 4, trying to address this sign that exists. I would imagine it is in a easement presently. I can't imagine Cal Ranch, 3 or 4 years ago, purchasing this property and not securing that, their sign, and after making those improvements. So anyway, we'll work with the applicant, to whatever extent to make sure that's a safe situation. So with that, again, recommend approval. You have to respond to any questions you have.
Anyone have any questions? Justin, I see you joined us. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I have a question. I was able to finally hop on. I think the question is just for Dana on this one. Just with having an actual sidewalk on US 60 there, what is our ability to encourage a higher level of shade coverage over walkable areas like that?
Great question, Commissioner Acevedo. So right now, along that frontage, you'll see this head wall. The current design, drainage design along the frontage is conveying water. There's basically through there. So obviously locating a tree within that, channel would probably be acceptable, but I certainly, we can work with the applicant and maybe use 2 trees. We move forward to provide that shade or add 2 additional trees, obviously we're open to
Yeah, let's 4 more trees.
more trees.
People like shade. Yeah, you know, it's a particularly expansive area there.
And sleep
I
on
mean, we also have that sewer easement,
Yeah.
as you know, not always
Yeah, not a great thing out there.
root barrier can certainly, but we could probably get more shade. Unfortunately, most of that shade is gonna be in the winter, outside of it, but the applicant's here too, and our designer, I'm sure they're available to respond as well.
Oh, that's all good. It was mostly just a question. I wasn't quite sure what we're allowed to make suggestions on changing on these kinds of things. But yeah, I can see the sewer line. I know there's probably lots of other things beyond just the sewer that probably goes underneath there, being right away. So just always like to shade a sidewalk when we can. But it looks great. This plan looks awesome. I'm very excited for it. So, you know, my one question, can we shade more sidewalks? I think it looks like a really great project overall.
Very good. If there's no other questions, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve case number SP-25-02, design and site plan approval for the new medical clinic with the conditions as outlined in the agenda today.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a couple of seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nay? Motion to approve is for case number SP 25-02. We're ready to move with that. I hope they do it fast. All righty. We're ready to move on to item C, presentation and discussion of parking lot paving standards and alternatives and possible initiation of a text amendment. Dana?
Excellent, and thank you again, Madam Chair, Commissioners, for the presentation for you.
I can barely understand him.
Okay, I'll speak loud and talk closer, I forgot my microphone.
Yeah.
Is that a little better?
No.
Oh, is your volume on your end up?
No, Dana, you're coming through really loud, but the sound quality is a little bit garbled. So if you can articulate as best you can.
Got it, I'll remove my microphone away, is this any better?
Actually, that's worse.
Just go ahead and we'll call you out if we need to.
It's just very garbled.
Mail him a headset. You know, that's what he needs.
I will, I'll see if I can adjust the microphone. Is this any better?
It
Hear me now?
it seems better, but it seems now you're quieter. So somewhere in between. Go back one change.
How
Move it.
about that? In between?
Part of it is that speaker up here that's buzzing.
Yeah, it might be. So I would go with a little bit louder,
Go louder.
a little bit, bring it a little bit closer.
There you go.
All right, let's go with that. And then outside voice.
Very good. Here we go, and then yeah, I'm speaking clearly too. Sharing screen now, and thank you. This is a follow-up from prior evaluating parking lot surfacing, for proposed development within the community. Can everybody see the screen? Everybody hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we're hearing you and we can see the presentation. Thank you, Dana.
So the purpose of the presentation is, first to explore alternative parking lot paving options for Glory, as I mentioned. We recognize there is a need, to consider alternative paving techniques and again, methods, and Planning and Zoning Commission is very interested to, have this discussion. Also, this is not related to a single property. Any change ultimately that comes out of a text amendment to the zoning code applies to every property in the city. And then finally, purpose is also to identify what types of uses, activities require what types of surfacing and why. And in doing this research, we realized, there's certainly, certain types of paving that is, intended to address certain types of traffic and uses and things like that, and I'll cover that quickly. So the existing parking code, requires paving for commercial lots, to be designed by a professional engineer, or PD as we call them. And then the city engineer reviews and approves, that design. Now, this is a very consistent policy and code, pretty much for every community, probably across the nation. That sequence right there. And then also something that's very common, if not as common as what I just mentioned, is code specify minimum criteria for just basic parking lots. In ours, we set for vehicles less than 2.5 tons, which are basically cars, typical thickness of asphalt, an aggregate base, and a subgrade of a minimum of 3 inches of asphalt, over 8 inches of aggregate, over a compacted subgrade. So those 3 things: compacted subgrade, a surface material like asphalt, and an aggregate base are kind of the engineering standards that are internationally or nationally accepted for this type of application. And then ultimately, this code, as well as every other code, we recognize there are a lot of different proposals and needs and issues with certain properties, so it leaves the discretion up to the city engineer to meet engineering, known engineering criteria and standards for that world. And there's a lot of different paving code or specification manuals and things like that for various different types of paving products and so forth. So we thought we'd quickly run through just the 5 primary types of parking surfaces that you see and where they fall in the spectrum of the type of use. Concrete, very much the most durable. This happens to be a parking lot for a building that was probably built 10 years ago, within the last 10, 15 years. An office building right off Lake Street, all concrete parking. Definitely more expensive than asphalt. But concrete's found to be the most durable surface. That's why all standards, including the city standards for trash enclosures, we use the MAG standard details. And drive aprons, like entry approach aprons, are always concrete, because those are the areas that receive the most stress from vehicles. They're turning, they're braking, they're maneuvering, and then trashing to get into a property, and then trashing, and then there's a sidewalk, so all sidewalks are concrete, because of that resilient nature. And then trash enclosure aprons, because the heavy weight of a trash vehicle pulling in, collecting, and leaving ultimately just destroys asphalt or whatever other surface less resilient or less durable than that, from that repetitive activity from a large vehicle, and then depending on obviously weather, climate, precipitation, things like that. Concrete is the most durable surface, highest traffic for high traffic areas, required for heavy vehicles such as trash trucks, curb aprons like I just mentioned. It's easiest for ADA, it's the flattest surface with the least variations in the surface, and then also it's the lowest maintenance, 30-40 years of concrete parking lot can exist. Second, asphalt is by far the most common. It's the most typically spec'd requirement, an expected kind of improvement across all communities. It's more cost effective than concrete, but a little less durable than concrete. It expands, it contracts, and so forth, and is more subjective to the elements. It is also used for high traffic areas. It's very durable for heavier vehicles and high traffic. And then it's also being maintained with ADA surface requirements. You see that being striped sometimes for ADA paths to front entries from parking spaces and across parking lots and things like that. Chip seal is something usually more of a temporary kind of scenario. In a lot of situations, it's a blend of durability and cost effectiveness. It's a very rough, coarse surface. Often that aggregate will break apart over time, and it's required to be resurfaced and resealed every 3 or 7 years to keep it all together. It's not good for high use or for people using mobility aids. Not the best for wheelchair and more uneven surface and a coarser surface. You can stripe it just like asphalt and concrete. But again, there is some loose material. It comes out of that, and again, you gotta seal it frequently. Permeable pavers and other kind of compacted or structural compacted BG is an option. This is the only example I'm familiar with, but you see permeable pavers with an open grid for the drive areas, concrete ribbon curving to hold it all together, and then the actual parking spaces are BG. Now it's a BG that's got a cross section that I can show you in a few minutes, but that's the idea there. They use permeable or pavers to stripe, or they can also put little balls within the grid, mesh grid system that's underneath the crushed granite to identify where parking spaces are. ADA spaces are located over here. Those are always concrete because of the ADA requirements to provide access. It's not suitable for areas with very high, heavy vehicles or extremely high traffic volume. It would obviously, over time, settle and become a problem. Again, striped with pavers, and it's a varied surface, so it can meet ADA, but there is some other maintenance, regular maintenance needed. And a big positive for this or why, because this location, they don't have on-site 100-year storage. They're just trying to permeate as much runoff as possible, rainwater that falls on the property before it exits the property into the city right away. And that's one of the best advantages of that type of permeable surface. Gravel parking lots in DG, what we found in research is they're not used in high volume traffic areas for several reasons. Biggest reasons we're seeing is that it just creates a lot of dust and then can also cause potholing at a level of maintenance that's needed where you have high traffic. It's going to be a continual maintenance scenario. So like in this situation, what we saw in research is that it's usually for overflow parking areas or secondary parking areas that aren't used as often, temporary parking areas, and then allowed in rural type of uses and low density residential scenarios with low traffic. This happens to be the Good County yard. It's poor for ADA, obviously, for I think obvious reasons, mobility aids. It does reduce that surface runoff. That's one of the positives. It's difficult to maintain striking. Obviously, it's also cooler than asphalt and doesn't contribute to heat island. But there is high maintenance and weeds do develop, as you can see in this scenario. And then also there has been safety concerns noted in research of tires taking that material out into the street and then causing debris in the street, which is potentially unsafe. So that's those 5, basically the standard requirements we found, looking at every other option in the research, applicable to most so standard requirements, and I apologize, okay, so all these asphalt paving codes are only applicable to most non-single family duplex residential uses. That gets carved out and kind of dealt elsewhere. Usually the paving surface is specific to commercial uses. The traffic commercial uses, and then the design is based on the volume of traffic and types of vehicles. And that's the number one, I think, contributing factor to determining what is an appropriate parking surface and what's not. If it's high traffic and heavy vehicles are traveling up, they're going to, engineering will dictate a higher, design standards will dictate a higher, more resilient, stronger surface. Low traffic areas, no heavy trucks, require less durable surfacing, obviously, such as pavers and compacted stone, e.g. gravel, things like that. So that's the one big key factor. How much traffic, what size vehicles are accessing this space, parking area. And then there's some exceptions, as I mentioned, road use areas and temporary overflow parking areas. That's where we see mostly notes and direction to provide alternative types of services like gravel and permeable surfaces. Hewlett County's code requires that in any zoning district other than all their low density residential and open space type of zoning districts, agricultural districts, outside of that, they don't regulate, I don't think, the surfacing, but where such space is required, like in a commercial parking lot, the area of such space shall be surfaced with asphalt surfacing, concrete, or other paving material acceptable to the Community Development Division. That's a requirement from that instead of like a city engineer or an engineering professional to prevent dust and erosion. And those are the big items. And again, more traffic on a less resilient surface or a gravel type easy surface, the more dust you're going to have, and ultimately the more runoff and erosion into wherever the drainage goes after it rains. So we just quickly look at some other alternatives, common alternatives that we see studied in Coconino and other areas. Pervious concrete is an option. I won't get into the details. Permeable pavers are suggested. Permeable pavers have a geotextile material and aggregate base, and sand bedding is very much level, so it doesn't pothole and settle and things like that. They've done that. Also, the open ridge system, there's like you see in that image, and it was similar to the one example that I had from Phoenix. Adding on pavers, again, really to allow for drainage and reducing that one. Gravel and crushed rocks, some towns permit alternatives like rock and gravel in certain zones, and you'll see that if you Google it. That tends to be in agriculture and low density residential areas. And then they have some standards for the depths of that and so forth. Dust proofing in the areas of Arizona, all parking and maneuvering areas must be dust proof. And as we evolve, that tends to be a bigger issue. I fortunately do county, I don't think has the biggest air quality issues yet, but it's eventual. With development comes more dust in many ways. Certain types of development. So additional also important considerations we learned: traffic, volume of traffic and types of vehicles determine the need for durability and frequency of maintenance. Point blank. It's just what type of vehicles, heavy, light, and frequencies. Dust control is the other big primary consideration we see across all codes. We want to make sure we're keeping the dust down, if not just trying to avoid it altogether. The long-term maintenance, obviously consider long-term maintenance. Certain services might require continual maintenance, and if it's not maintained, it becomes a code compliance issue for the city and ADOT or whoever, whatever roadway might be adjacent to or access from. So that's one of those considerations. And then finally, accessibility, ensure that there's some ADA. It's a surface that anybody, right, can maneuver on once they get out of the vehicle. So when we talk about decomposed granite and other structures, there's one scenario where we addressed a situation in the city. It was approved but not built, but with this product, or a similar product to this. Actually, it's the next slide. But it's what they call this TrueGrid Flow Pro Plus is one of the versions. The other one, Base Core, that was previously stacked on a small commercial lot that was just never paved. It doesn't go through the whole bedroom. Maybe 10 parking space parking lot that has negative drainage. It was draining to the residents behind the commercial lot off of Ash. So we parking lot stripes, with those yellow balls that are stuck inside the, grid, to demarcate those. But it is a very detailed, again, a certain amount of, aggregate base, certain amount of subgrade, all level, compacted, geotextile, and then this is laid on top, and then granite over the top, a certain type of granite that, very angular that locks together, and then they roll it and agitate it to secure it in place, and sometimes add a additive to adhere it together as well. So base representative kind of discusses those different, how that's done. In conclusion, while potentially more costly up front, properly designed and maintained permeable parking surface using compacted aggregate bases to provide a durable, environmentally friendly solution for high traffic areas. I think if you are to allow something, if that's the type of structure or type of design that would be more suitable. Again, all these products have specification manuals that discuss exactly how it's put in. These manufacturers clearly don't want to have a product that's failures and constantly a problem, because they wouldn't be in business. But when you have time, this presentation will be available and available to the public, but you can kind of see this comparison. Traditional gravel versus the cell type of system and all the associations, those are the benefits of one versus the other. But this happens to be the actual product that we did see spec in a small volume off of Ash. So one other thing to consider is, is there any area or how that we want to restrict alternatives, and we gotta have consistent type of surfacing, like in the downtown historic district or direct access properties that have direct access to the highways. Other obviously commercial, all our properties accessing the highway are commercial properties, which you would expect. Ideally, one day would be high volume traffic into the properties if they're not allowed. Apron requirements, which we do already have. ADOT also has, whenever we're cutting into an ADOT, making curb cut ADOT, they have their own specifications, concrete sidewalk, all the above. Primary parking versus overflow parking, I think that's a gray area. It's clear that, there could be some scenarios with low intensity traffic that could certainly justify a different type of parking service, like a gravel or EG, what we just looked at. Shared parking development for continuity, so when you have two lots sharing common access, you want that surface to be consistent. Visual continuity, depending on where it is and what the scenario is, you might want that to be consistent. High traffic areas, obviously, such as retail sales, opposed to low traffic uses where a very small 1-2 person office that gets no visitors or something like that, obviously doesn't have the same demand and impact to the parking surface. And then finally, businesses with heavy vehicles and heavy gross weight, it's going to be very damaging to a less resilient surface. So next steps, after this tonight's discussion, the Planning and Zoning Commission will hear from probably members of the public, if you wish, and I think we do have members that want to speak. Provide direction to staff on kind of the key elements that you want to make sure are included in the zoning ordinance, and then we'll take off and prepare a draft to issue for community review and your consideration. So then staff prepares that draft. We solicit stakeholder and public input for about a 2-week period. We'll then revise the text to address the concerns and issues and things that we haven't thought of. Advertise and hold a citizen review meeting. I'll probably do that right before maybe a Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing at number 6, where you'll make a recommendation to the City Council. City Council holds a public hearing on the ordinance, is what it would be at that point. And then should the council adopt a text amendment, it takes effect after 30 days. So with that, they have to respond to questions.
Do we have any information that's been supplied to us with regards to how often that parking lot is used, how many vehicles are there on a daily basis, or anything along those lines, Dana?
I'm sorry, is that a general question?
Yes.
I'll have to defer to the engineering type of
we don't have anything about this particular property that we've been discussing, the one that's located next to Circle K. We don't have anything at this point in time that shows how often that is used in and out wise on that dirt lot?
No, and same with most others.
Okay.
Yeah, but that would have to be consideration. We do know certain uses, like I mentioned, are high traffic. For instance, certainly convenience uses are probably convenience and quick serve restaurants or drive-throughs are probably the two highest volume traffic users. Gas stations and grocers are right there too, but gas stations are, so when you look at the community, what's considered high traffic, those are definitely the highest uses, highest traffic demand uses.
Yeah, I think going off of that, I think actually what you showed from Gila County and their restrictions by particular zoning was a pretty good example of that, where they essentially restricted some of the alternatives to only those more low traffic style zoning areas.
Well, I kind of disagree with that, Justin, only because I go up and down that street every day to the bank and a million other places, and typically when I drive by, I see 2 or 3 vehicles in the dirt lot. Now I see several that get parked and jacked up around the gas station pumps and in Circle K on the front and the side itself. So I was just wondering if we had a number for how often that someone is actually using that, if that would be considered overflow because it's a minimal use, or is it just more than what I see when I'm driving back and forth on US 60?
So I think just from some of my experience in other places all across the state and the Southwest, where I've been one of the proponents to push a lot of these decomposed granite options on plans that I've worked on in the past that are not within our city. But when we are proposing decomposed granite, particularly on lots like this, we've had to often complete things like traffic engineering studies that start to get some of those estimated traffic counts. Just to try to prove the point of how low the use may be for those situations.
Well, I don't think that's rocket science. You post a camera on the other side of the road, check at the end of the day and see how many vehicles were parked in the dirt lot. I mean, that might be even something that the current owner could assist with or something. I mean, those little cams are not that expensive. So that might be one way to get through on whether we can make a determination about overflow parking or whatever restrictions need to be considered from this time forward. Just, I would like to know, because I don't see a lot, I don't see 15 or 20 vehicles parked over there. So I guess I would continue, in my brain, that would constitute overflow parking since we have the paved parking right next door at Circle K. But I don't know that for a fact because I don't know how much it is used.
Well, and I will say though, they do, like the trucks that deliver, they're big, like their big beer trucks and.
Do they go
stuff
on
like that.
the dirt side?
Yeah, they
And
do.
how often is that?
I'll just say from my own personal experience, anywhere from 4 to 5 times a week.
Okay. And is it like several trucks at one time, Tracy, or is it
Not
typically
necessarily
one
at one
delivery
time.
truck?
It can't happen on a Friday morning. I can have 3 big trucks all trying to deliver to me at the same time.
Okay.
But that's just my, different business, but that is my personal experience.
And please note, obviously, it's not a parking, so obviously it's not gonna be parking in traffic or anything like this, it's not permitted. So you gotta look at, you actually ask for a TIA, what's the demand on this, then traffic engineers can analyze how much traffic would go through there. I think the most traffic you'll see would be a cut from Blake. And then parking probably secondary, but anyway, again, this is applicable to all, when you think of McDonald's, the next quick serve, or who else could potentially, take advantage of the direction that you're discussing.
Yeah, I think for me, my greatest concern typically with using decomposed granite next to a street without a big apron that helps to prevent and trap decomposed granite is the larger the piece of equipment, vehicle, whatever you like to call it, that goes from one side to the other, the faster it deteriorates. So I think like your report said, after a winter or two, you'll see some severe potholing. Typically you get larger equipment on there and you see large potholing, divots, and push out within months, if not days. In like, particularly like turn radiuses, things like that, I think parking lot, like where parking areas, I think one of your examples showed decomposed granite being used for parking stalls, but not for drive lanes. Like, I think that's a pretty good example, because like that's a great example of decomposed granite being used in places that are not necessarily having these larger trucks driving through them, or heavier pieces of equipment, because they just simply can't fit in those spaces. And then it also helps for any vehicles that are on it. Essentially, that paved drive surface for the driving lane operates as a kind of an EG collector at the end of the day. That's why those pavers work pretty well. It ensures that you have limited decomposed granite ending up back within the street. Or in particular, I think the bigger concern is blocking some of our drainage inlets or Highway 60, which is not necessarily in our control. We gotta make sure we're meeting the needs and standards of ADOT, which is a whole nother can of worms.
Do we have any other questions or concerns? We have at least one speaker card.
I'll come back to it after speaker. We see about the question on more.
All right, if we have no more to say, Yolanda, would you like to come up and say your piece, please?
Good evening, everyone. I think by this time everyone knows me as the lady with the bad apple, the lady with the dirt lot. Okay, I'm gonna start answering the question about the traffic. I've been monitoring that property for 2 weeks. It's hot, but I've been parking there. The most I have seen is 3 cars and the Pepsi delivery truck at lunchtime, noon. Then my house is up the hill, so I'm using gas, but I don't care. I fill my tank every other day. I drive back and forth like 10 times a day. Around 4 p.m., you see 2 cars, 1 car, 1 employee car. So there is not such a huge traffic like they are letting us believe. We have other options besides asphalt. I already told you many times, in person, by phone, emails, I cannot afford asphalt. It's out of my budget, way out of my budget. I've been calling companies. I've been busy, stressful. The lowest quote I got is $85,000. And they say it's a rough estimate. They need to come and see how much space we're using for landscape, but a rough estimate. They say it can be more. The one that I got last year, it was $90,000. I called them again and they say they need to come again. It might be $110 because time already passed. So I have a question for you, Dana. Are you the one that contacted Circle K management and told them the employee couldn't park there?
They contacted me and I was made aware that the apparently employee was parking on your dirt lot and run out that nobody's supposed to be parking.
Because they forward me the email and then they email me back that they're not gonna be paying. So it's like, then I'm gonna big trouble, then I don't have any income. I had received 1 check. So when they told me they are not gonna pay anymore, what I did, I deposited that check right away before they cancel it. So my question is, who is gonna compensate me? The City of Globe for that last rent? On one side, they're requiring to upgrade, and on the other side, you guys are dropping me down that I'm not allowed to receive rent. So I'm all confused. Please help me understand that.
I think that's the time that
This
you can.
presentation is not for a specific property, you're not a gender, property's not a gender.
Well, that's what it says right here, the third lot, so that's me. I'm the owner of the third lot. So, one more,
This, obviously, so, you know, your engineers to design and submit, it's up to the city engineer, please, to review that. And if you think a parking study would help and show no traffic or something like that, that's certainly all your right to propose and provide to.
well, the engineer has been, emailing you back and forth the site plan, and you've been rejecting, she's been making corrections. I'm afraid when she sends me the new bill, because I already pay a lot of money, and now with all the corrections she's doing, I'm just afraid to open the email when she sends me that.
And I don't know, I thought I saw an email that this engineering reviewed the plans, or it's in review, I don't know off the top of my head.
If you, and when I say to you, is I refer to everyone, not just you. If you guys should agree, when I was contacted that I need to upgrade that property, and I said, yes, I'm willing to upgrade, the trees will be big like the ones in the pictures. We have shade already. And the lot is still on the same situation. It's a pothole, I'm not getting income, it's not getting upgrade. It seems like we're going backwards instead of walking forward. This is stressful to me because, like I told you, I'm fighting cancer, and this is more stressful than having a relapse on cancer. I get more upset and more stressful when I open emails from you guys than when I open my phone and I see that the cancer keeps going up. Believe me, I'm more stressful with your emails than from the Mayo Clinic. So we need to work something and agree on something. There has to be something in the middle for both to agree, something to look good. I've been trying to plant the trees up 6 months ago, but then I was told no. I'm willing, I'm on the best disposition, but you guys tie my hands. What do you have to say to that, Dana?
Submit the landscape plan, same thing, you can go out and plant where you can. But, when if you plan on a place where ultimately you get approved for plans, that you have to, might have to move. So I do understand you didn't include a landscape plan or your engineer. So we'll review that.
When Mr. Acevedo said that it's gonna be a problem on the highway, no, because I'm planning on doing like a flower bench. So there is gonna be no rocks on the highway. How about the rocks right here by the turquoise building? I forgot what's the name. There are rocks there. One day I went to the store and I got one rock. I always have sandals. I got one rock and it almost cut me. Those are rocks, not the ones that are on my property. I understand that we want to control the dust, but not at $120,000 or $110,000. Like I told you, I did my math, and the rent that I'm charging Circle K, it will take 30 years to pay that asphalt. But now, telling them not to park there in Circle K, not paying rent, it's gonna take 40. Maybe my grandkids are gonna see any rent, but not me. I can't donate that much. No, maybe the city can pay me with half of the cost, and happy. Everyone can be happy. The city pays for half, and I think I can get a $50,000 loan if the city is willing to pay the other half. What do you think? You can put that on the agenda to be discussed? Why not? Everything's possible.
I'll defer to Madam Chair during the meeting. This is not a discussion on the topic. tonight and what you just heard, volume of traffic and types of surfacing, I think that will be very valuable for this discussion. Otherwise, I'll defer to Madam Chair.
Because this is specifically, we asked them to give us alternatives, so it isn't specifically for your piece of property, although obviously everyone cares about it, including us. But we're really not here to provide that, and I am gonna say, I don't know a whole bunch about it, but the city can't, if the city were to split it with you, then everyone in their planet would come and say the city's supposed to split everything, so that is probably not gonna be an option.
So, Madam Chair, it would be illegal for us to
Yeah,
pay
it's-
a private individual to develop their private property for profit.
So it is against that. And to go out of this, just when I was listening to what Dana is saying and everything, not only do you have the city you're dealing with ADOT, and ADOT's probably gonna be way worse than the city even dreamed to be in. So they're gonna have to approve whatever happens, and if it doesn't fit within what they're gonna allow come out on that highway, then the city probably can't even influence that. So, you have more than just the city, unfortunately, that you've got to get past on this,
Yes, unfortunately.
being on the highway like that.
I wish if I could move that piece of property to Miami or Superior, I wouldn't have this headache.
Well,
Yes.
you probably would, especially with ADOT, because ADOT's the same on all the way through both cities, so you're gonna still have the ADOT problem no matter where you are.
So then, what's gonna be the status of this case?
Well, I believe what they're saying is maybe if you do a traffic study and show and prove, show empirical, data that shows how many vehicles are there, what.
I just told them how many I've been checking every day.
And I recognize that, and Debbie said that she's seen 3 or 4 there,
Yeah.
and I see truck, I mean, we've all
Yeah.
seen stuff there, but that isn't probably what the city can work
Because people goes in
with.
and out for a soda, and the delivery trucks just park, like the gas truck, they park on the other side. I've been watching that, and it's like, I don't know why, because the pipe is closer to the, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a high traffic. There are many gas stations that are busier than that one.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
So the applicant, or there is an existing CUP that requires asphalt as part of the current code.
Yes.
We here are trying to find some flexibility, some options, bringing forward a code, modification of the code for alternative services through the process, P&Z, public hearings, council action, implementing that code. At that time, I believe that the applicant can then come and reapply and take advantage of whatever new code is put in place by the city. But at this point, she has an existing CUP, and until something changes within our city code, it's static, other than some of the other issues that I don't know as much about. But that is why we're here. I think everyone saw the need for some alternative options. It's the commission does, I think the council does, I think the city does. And so we're trying to put that in place, but it takes time. And soon we will have resolution as to what's going to change. And I urge you to look forward to that time if there is changes in the code, and then you can come and ask for modifications to your CUP.
Okay, I had asked about then, a lot of people has asked why across the street the restaurant is that, and I was told it's continuous use. So help me understand that, because they have changed ownerships, names. I have been the owner for 18 years. Circle K has been Circle K I've been here 35 years, and Circle K was there. To me, it's continuous use too, because it's been used for the same purpose.
I think we talked about this
Yeah,
at the last
this is-
meeting as well, and there wasn't a contract in place to prove the continuous use of it as a business purpose. If you do have that documentation, then that would be what you could present to the city, because I feel like we talked about that.
I
last
already
time.
sent them out. I got a yearbook.
Yeah, I think there was more to it than that.
It's city approval, it's never been acknowledged. It's like you kind of deal with your neighbors, they can park their RV in your backyard, It could be illegal, we don't know. It's never been approved or authorized.
because I already sent yearbooks and comments from people that say I bought it. It used to be a car dealership that say the same way it is right now. And people say, oh, I bought my car in 1977. So I took screenshots, highlight, and emailed them. You say you got my email. Then I got a yearbook from 1977 from the Chamber of Commerce, and I send them that. So there is proof
And
that
I
it's
think
been like that.
That was accepted. In fact, I remember that from the meeting talking about that it was a business back when it was a car dealership, but then after the car dealership left, that's the that's
Yeah.
from then to now.
1977 is a long time ago to try to call that a continuous use.
Well, it's been, then I send them the list from the previous owner before me. I send them the list that is being used for the same purpose. And then I send them my old list and the new list, and it's been always the same for customers to park, go in and out. So, anyone else wants to talk? I don't wanna take much time.
Well, yeah, there's other,
Yeah, and, the last thing, I heard that the wheelchair, there is no way that someone is gonna park on that side and go in a wheelchair. There is, parking in front of Circle K. If someone is on wheelchair, they're not gonna come on their lot and have all the hassle to
that's pretty
to go there.
standard codes though for any parking lot. There's gonna be handicap parking. So, and if it was there, it would probably be used. So I would say that's code that you're not gonna be able to change, I don't believe.
Well, the handicap is in the front of the store. Yeah, okay. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Okay, Tina?
When you get to the podium, please state your name and address.
Tina Andrews, 434 South Hill Street and 529 South High Street. So are you guys gonna go through the whole city and do this to all the dirt lots that are next to businesses?
If someone comes in looking to pave it and move on, the code is to do it. Now, the continuous use, it's not gonna happen. I believe the last meeting they said the county, that big lot, that was out of,
Yeah, we're dealing with that.
and that, so I mean, that there are things that even the county's getting told that they've gotta clean up their lot. So it's code, and I know everyone really thinks codes are a horrible thing, but right up until something moves in next door to your house that you hate, and then all of a sudden you're gonna wish there was codes.
Right, like the Hill Street School Apartments, right? That was a terrible debacle that didn't get a traffic study done until after it was already built. So why is she having to get a traffic study before she even plants a tree? First and foremost. And a traffic study is, you know, if it's so important to have done previous to any planting, building, grading, any of that, then why wasn't it done for the Hill Street School Apartments?
Ma'am, that was a request for me to ask if it had ever been viewed because I didn't have any previous information. This hasn't been standardized for some places to do. So that was a question for me to get answered for what I had thinking in my head with regards to overflow parking. Has nothing to do with Hill Street School or anybody else or anything along those lines. That was specific to Ms. Turrell's property.
Correct. Right, so I'm asking, why does she need to get a traffic study initially?
I didn't say she had to get one. What I asked was, had there been anybody who had done that previously?
Why would there be? If the Hill Street School Apartments didn't need to do it until after the build was already done, then why would it be even a acceptable question to think that she had it done?
I am not sure. Is that true that they didn't do a traffic study
No,
before the
They
Hill
didn't do
Street
it until
building?
after it was already built, sir.
So-
That's why they had to expedite the stop signs and the flashing things.
Conspiracy theories to me. So, I mean, did that really happen?
City council meetings.
We did, I can only speak to the traffic study that arose after the completion of the building,
Because they didn't
and it
put
was
one
asked
beforehand.
because of the line of sight. And so that was the request, and the traffic study was not a parking study, it was about, what is the safest configuration for that intersection?
And now, sir, did you wind up waiving the traffic study before the build was done? Because the council
So
meeting
I
said
can
you
say,
did.
I was the one, pardon me, I was the one that asked about the traffic study, and I think that was mainly because of the number of cars is what I was thinking, of travel, because typically, looking at like alternative pavement methods, like the decomposed granite compacted, it can only handle a certain number, it's documented to only be able to handle a certain number of cars per day with a really high level of expensive maintenance to keep it to that standard. And so part of what I Help that clears it up a little bit.
And we'll defer to the city engineer, that's who you have this conversation with.
I came here today to have a conversation with you, so it would make a lot more sense if everything was being able to be understood or heard online. However, you guys have this constant audio distortion where you can't hear anything that you say, Dana, at all, period, online. The only way that we have to view this is by YouTube. Paul Jepson, I wound up giving you the notice, on May 28th, 2024, about the audio distortion. You said, the underwater sound, that's been corrected. I even have it up here right now on my video, and you wound up saying that, it was gonna be looked at after, and it would have been, worked out, and yet it's still a constant game to hear you guys on anything.
And I'll speak up on that because I have complained about it a lot too. And this right here and what's in front of you was an attempt to do it and it didn't fix it. And I've had that conversation with the mayor as well. So
I
that
can hear
is.
all of you guys fine.
Well, that's because we're
It's
sitting in
Dana-
the same
it's
room.
Dana, whenever he speaks, you can even hear it in here. It's obviously.
Yeah, it's that buzzing
It's an
speaker.
echo that is outrageous, and you can't hear anything online. It would be different if there was a way to log into a Zoom meeting and actually see what you guys are passing, but I feel like you guys are, or not you guys specifically, but I feel like Dana and Paul Jepson, I feel like you guys are selling out the city and not even giving us the opportunity to hear it.
I don't
At
think
least give us
comments
an
like that
opportunity
are
to partake.
necessary. We're trying to resolve an issue and find a common ground for that. So that's something that you can bring up, I think, with maybe another complaint if you would like to, but as
I've
far
filed
as
so
what
many
we're
complaints. Here
addressing
you go,
today.
Well, yeah, and I will say, Dana, can you go back to what our steps are here and where we're, the advertisement and show that where we're trying to head to is.
What we're trying to head to is being able to hear things online.
That is not the subject of tonight's meeting, but it is a very valid complaint, and I have made
That
it
was the
multiple
subject of the
times
meeting whenever I
myself.
wound up complaining and writing a written complaint, giving the ARS. So really, everything that Dana has partaked in, it should be re-recorded. Like we should have the ample opportunity as citizens of this community to go ahead and hear what's going on and not just what you guys want to put out there.
So,
I don't-
Madam Chair, I'd be, after the meeting, be happy to
That's what
have
you
a
said last time.
conversation about
That's what
the,
you said last time.
was that?
That's what you said last
Okay,
time,
if
whenever you guaranteed that it wasn't gonna happen again. The underwater sound was supposed to be.
I'm offering to meet with you after the meeting and not interrupt their time, and we can have a conversation about the speakers on the ceiling.
You already did. Whenever I gave you that notice on
Okay,
May
all right.
28th, 2024, anybody can look up the meeting. It was at the very, very end. I was the last comment, and you had agreed to talk to me at the end, blah, 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 and it wound up not being resolved. I think it was resolved for one meeting after that. But every time that Dana has part in any of your guys' meetings, he's unable to be heard or understood.
And I don't disagree, and I will say that we could say that we'll have it fixed by the next meeting. It's not gonna happen because the city's gotta go through budget stuff, they gotta buy it, they gotta do it. And I complain every single time I listen to it on
Then
YouTube.
maybe he needs to be in person then.
I-
If he's literally making codes on the books, right?
He's
that
not making
affect
codes.
everyone. Okay.
Okay, please, he's not.
Those steps right there.
We're in
right?
we're in the process actually here trying to make code, that you're participating in
And
it.
it's no.
Although I'm not
It's
sure
no
that you're
because
adding anything but
it's no
complaints about
because
the speakers right now.
The community literally had no input on it. They can't have any input on it because they can't understand what he's saying from this meeting or the last meeting. So I don't feel as though it should go through. None of the ordinances should go through if the community cannot have a say.
Okay, thank you. You've
That is
had,
the whole
you've had
purpose
your
of the
say.
public-
Thank
public
you.
laws,
Thank you.
right?
You've had your say. Thank you. And Paul, please talk to her.
Yes, I
at
will
the-
follow up.
After the meeting. Thank you. I appreciate it. Because this is not,
Come up here every single meeting just so that way I can hear and make sure that you guys aren't sliding some things on the slide.
okay, well, no one's trying to slide anything in on you, and we're here at every meeting too, so
Multiple times.
feeling fairly personal right now. Okay, Alexandra White?
She said, okay, bye. What? She called it a conspiracy theory. It's not a conspiracy theory, we're just don't.
Please, you've had your time to speak.
Alexandra White, 175 East Azul Lane, Globe, Arizona, 85501. I have questions about the topic of today's meeting, including the amount of traffic that goes in and out of a particular area. You are talking about mirrored parking lots, right? Yet the far side of the parking lot is not anywhere near what Yolanda's having to go through right now. My neighborhood in general, there is a giant UPS facility frequently used for their large business trucks diesels to park there while they're across from Circle K, as well as reservation members who choose to hold their marches that go through town that start at that specific building. Now, my question is, how are you going to determine the amount of use for each of the properties? Is it going to be on a case-by-case basis? Are there going to be a certain number of cars that are allowed or aren't allowed? And is it going to pertain to every dirt lot business that there is?
So right now, as the code stands, none of that comes into play. There's already a code that says how commercial buildings and parking lots of that sort need to be paved. What we're doing here tonight is trying to explore alternatives. And as we research it, traffic patterns, traffic volume may or may not come into play with any amendments to the code. But right now, there's none of that comes into play with deciding how a parking lot needs to be covered, because it's already covered in the existing code.
May I ask why it was discussed in your slides then? If it's not something that directly pertains.
Because we asked for it, we asked for alternatives because we didn't like the
I'm not
idea.
speaking on the alternatives, I'm speaking on the fact that there will be tracked traffic within specific areas. You're telling me that may not apply. If it doesn't apply, then why was it addressed in tonight's meeting?
Tonight's meeting is part of our research process to determine whether or not amendments to the code will be made. So everything that they're presenting is part of the research that we asked them to do so that we could explore alternatives.
Which at a later time, you'll determine the standards for what is or isn't adequate vehicle traffic for each of the businesses.
Not necessarily. So again, this is just a research process. We may or may not make any adjustments to the code. We don't know that yet because in truth we're just starting the research process.
In the event that that research is just starting, why has Yolanda had to designate so much time? I mean, she is an upstanding citizen. She's great to every member in the community, but why is she in the position she's in knowing there's a brand new bank being built next door? So my question is, it seems as though to the public that this business was foreshadowed and now her standards are set to be met to offer overflow parking to a business that wasn't there prior.
I don't know about that, because I can't speak to that as a commission member.
Who could?
I can speak to what's presented to the public as a member of the
Who
public.
could speak on that if it has to get approved for the building to be
That's
built?
my political way of saying that's just an idea that's not founded. So what I'm trying
Political
to
or not, it's not an idea, it's a basis, and I'm asking you a direct question.
Would you like an answer to your question, or would you like to just say your opinion?
Well, it depends, because you're telling me you're giving me partial answer, but
No,
you're not
that's
giving me
not
direct. That is exactly what you said.
Why don't you state your opinion instead?
Sure. My opinion is that this was prior set up when the city decided to pass the bank being built and knew they were going to need overflow parking. I've heard so much about needing handicap parking for Circle K all the way across their lot. The bank is even smaller, and they're fine with their handicap parking the way that it is. I'm not understanding.
Well, and I honestly have, this is the first time I've heard anyone saying it's overflow parking for the bank. It's always been Circle K, so that's a totally different
But it's
thing.
really not. If you put practicality into it, the way that the events fell in order, it is justifiable thought to believe that that is how it was set.
So, Matt,
Madam Chair,
Dana.
you approved the bank site plan, it meets the parking requirements of our zoning code. We were in a discussion that this.
Pardon, I can't hear him, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
honestly, Dana, I couldn't understand that either.
Was approved with meeting the city's parking requirements.
And Circle K was not, because the overflow needs to adapt to handicap standards.
Madam Chair.
Day was built at a time in the 80s.
And on that note, I would also like to address that you, sir, I apologize, I don't know your name.
This is the second time you've
mentioned-
asked a question and you've interrupted them while they're trying to answer you.
Sure, I have something
Is it okay
called
if you answer
short.
your first question?
May I answer your question first?
I didn't ask you a question.
Well, I'm gonna tell you anyways through ADA, okay?
Okay, that's
I
enough.
have needs through the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Madam Chair, please gavel this person out of order.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You can step down.
So how
from
do
the
I
podium.
file an ADA complaint for my medical health issues that require me to address things as they're thought? Please
Thank
explain
you,
that.
please sit down.
How am I supposed to sit down? Where do I file my ADA complaint?
You can go online you can go online to the City of Globe and you can file complaint with us. You can file with the police department, or you can Google it and talk to whoever you want to, but please leave
I
the
would be
podium
glad to do so.
and file the complaint.
I plan to.
Okay.
Thank you for your hospitality.
Madam Chair, I do have a comment or a request on text that I'd like to read. Okay, this is from Adria Ricky at 734 Cactus. And Adria asked, what does she need to do to prove continued use? You are saying the place across the street is continued because someone has always owned it from one place to the next. She has continuously owned it and it hasn't changed purpose since she purchased. So what exactly is she to do to show continued use and get the same consideration? Someone has already, because to the next. She has continuously owned it since she purchased. So what continued use consideration?
So,
Thank you.
So, and this is kind of off topic.
It is.
We already talked about it again. It's the commission, if you'd like to have Dana respond one more time, or just, that's a repetitive question.
Dana, if you could, as clearly as you could, please explain what we consider continued use and why why the city says they don't have proof that it's continued use.
Yes, because as of 1998, when our new code was adopted, we did not have record of any use on that property. The code allows for parking lots only with an approved conditional use permit. So there was never an established use after the auto sales stopped business. And they demoed and they moved everything to the site. So it's a vacant parcel. We have no record of any other use of that parcel with the exception of people parking out and coming through it. And that's not, as of 98, that would require a use permit. So that's how it is not a continued use. The other, look, and you can change hands all you want, has nothing to do with ownership. It has to do with an established use on the property, like the restaurants that we have that don't have paid parking, and other uses, but they've been in operation and used for a continuous period. That's the difference. If that was a continued use, it could remain and continue to be used in perpetuity. We've never had an established use or any record from the city that has been established, and there's no record at the county that has been assessed as anything but vacant land. So that we don't have anything showing any ounce of evidence that this was an approved use for the property.
Oh, Dana, just to maybe push and clarify, I'm trying to think of the best way to do it. So essentially this property is commercial property. It hasn't had a permit to operate as a commercial property, so therefore it is a vacant lot that is a commercial property, right? So therefore all commercial properties must be city code if they're operating.
Correct. At some time, if it's operating, as long as it met the code at the time it started operation, then they're what they call grandfathered.
Now that's why the business across the street, they have had basically a permit for a restaurant at some point, established use, it's registered with the county, and it was well before 1998. And I think what you presented in the last meeting was essentially the city's, I think it's 6 or 12 months or something like that, of non-use is considered a lapse. And at that point, they would have to submit for a new permit, correct? And then bring it up to code.
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure. I know it gets a little confusing.
It's another, but it's.
So it's not necessarily the use, it is more so the fact there is a documented business that is permitted to be there as a commercial property. For commercial use, yes.
I'm sorry, Justin, I didn't catch that.
Okay, no worries. So essentially, I just wanted to clarify, trying to figure out our next step. So essentially, at this point, we have the ability to either give you some more direction today, Dana, or do we have the opportunity to kind of review this a little bit more from that presentation and then send some comments? But if we direct you today to go start preparing some draft text amendment language based on what we saw today, that way we can really understand how it may impact our community a little more. That would be essentially our next step.
Agreed? Do you agree, Dana? Like your next steps that are listed, if we say, okay, this is what we want to do, the direction of the staff is to start preparing the draft text amendment language and preparing notification to the public so that they can do their public comment for 2 weeks and so on. So that's where we are right now.
And I apologize, I was trying a different microphone. Correct. So any direction, conversation, you'd like staff to move forward, and prepare, text amendment? That's any nuance that you feel to be discussed, or direct staff will move forward.
Okay, so if there's other people who want to speak, some that have already spoken, this is what we've got where we are right now. We direct them to move forward. We can certainly hear what everyone has to say, but you're not changing anything. We can't change the asphalt part of it right now because your CUP is already accepted with the asphalt. But giving these alternatives that may or may not work for your lot, keeping in mind that ADOT also is involved in this, and it's not just the city that you're going to be angry with probably, that we can listen and hear what you say, but you can't change anything where we are right now until we go through these next steps. So if Yolanda, would you like to come up and say what you thought of that you'd like to add, please?
Okay, I forgot to mention, I am way more concerned about the accidents that bank is gonna cause because that street is already busy. Coming down Blake Street is a nightmare. Sometimes I just go like towards Globe, come and turn around. If I'm going towards Fry's, it's a nightmare. So how about instead of demanding asphalt, why don't the city or ADOT or whoever is in charge put a light? That will save so many accidents and so many lives, I'm pretty sure. And the whole town should agree with me because it's a congested street.
I think there's a light
No.
25, 30 feet away.
Yeah, but we need one more there because it's like if you are, I don't know if you're familiar with Blake Street, if you are going down, sometimes you have to
And
be
I
there.
think that would be a topic for, Madam Chair, for another conversation. It's an important safety topic. And there's restrictions on how many lights can be placed, and it's a state decision,
Once again,
but
that's an ADOT decision. That wouldn't be the city
Yeah,
that made that
because it's
decision.
like-
to dismiss.
And a traffic study would be necessary.
It would have been that great if they would have done it before building the bank because it's like if it's hard to get out of Blake Street, now it's going to be harder. And Mr. Jepson, you say something about the old statute or code. So my property is grandfather because the grandfather law is since 1998, and that property has been in use since probably 1960.
Because we talked about legal nonconforming twice already, and yours is not qualified as legal nonconforming use.
Well, I didn't understand what you say because you say if it's an old statute, then my property applies to that.
Okay, I said you have an existing CUP that you can act upon, but you may want to wait until there changes in the code, and then you can reapply.
And how long is it going to take? My question.
That was
Pardon me?
the next steps, I think, were
Yeah.
spelled out fairly. Dana, can you put the next steps up one more time for us, please?
Let's
Yeah.
just keep those up.
Yeah, if there are changes proposed and council approves those and they go into the process, then now the code has another option that you can take advantage of through the CUP process.
Okay, so I'm gonna be praying harder, I guess. I'm gonna add 2 more rosaries to my daily prayers.
Okay.
I hope that works. Okay, let's have Joanne, since we've not heard from you yet.
Good evening. My name is Joanne Marin Oram. I live on 430 West Euclid Avenue. I'm listening to everybody talk about the lot. I was not born here in Globe, but I've been here since 1954. I've always knew that Mr. Healy had that lot. It was an empty lot. It was a sales lot. And then after that, I worked at the mines. For many years, I parked my vehicle on that lot. I don't know what's going on now with our community, what's happening with our community. There was never complaints. There was never nothing. Now this poor lady doesn't have the means and the money to pay for everything that you guys are asking. You know, it seems like we don't count. I live on Euclid Avenue. And I'm going to tell you something. I've come to city council meetings. I have asked you guys too about speed bumps. Nothing ever happens. But this poor lady has a lot over there trying to do something good. And the city seems like she doesn't count in my books. And I think a lot of us older people here in Globe feel the same way. I don't know where you're from, but I'm an Arizona native, and I'm from here. And this is my community. So I think you all have to, I understand that man has his steps up there, but at the end of the day, we're the voters, and we will find out more. And we'll try to help this lady with what she has to go through. It's not right. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Tina?
So, let me see here. So you said a CUP, what is that?
Conditional use.
Permit.
Okay, and is that what you guys spell out in the pre-development meeting? Is that what you would get there, essentially? Or how do you get a
So
CUP?
the CUP is conditional use permit that came to the Planning and Zoning Commission and was proposed and adopted by the Planning and Zoning Commission that allows a plan for the use of the property when it's not by right use.
And what we did when we did that was explain to her that our only option was to approve that, or then she could go to the city council and argue with them if we said no against trying to force her to do asphalt. But then we directed the staff to do what they've done here and what they presented to try to find alternatives, not only hopefully to be less expensive for her, but also better for the planet and just everything in general. So she has an existing CUP that right now says it has to be asphalt. If we go through these steps and come up with something that ends up being an alternative that might be more affordable and more something that she can maintain easier, then she can come in and request another CUP and we can do it, and then she can move forward with the lot. But right now she's got asphalt, and that's all we can do until we do a text amendment and fix the code to give her options.
Okay, now did she apply for that asphalt?
Yes, no,
blacktop?
she didn't apply for asphalt, but she applied to use it as a commercial parking lot to be able to make money, which is a good thing, from Circle K as a lease. And so once she put that into that mode, well, then it goes into code, so it's planning and zoning.
She came to you guys and said, this is what
She
I want
didn't
to do.
come to us personally, yeah, but it's the city, yes.
Okay, and then you guys said, if you want to do it this way, then this is how you need to do it.
This is what the code said. You have to do it because the code says this. And we said, we're not happy that the code limits it to only that option. Please give us other options. And that's what this meeting is actually about.
Okay, so she came to you guys, right? Not you guys specifically, but the City of Globe. And the City of Globe said that these are the requirements, right?
Yes.
Now, are those going to be the requirements for every?
Yes, anyone coming in with
dirt
something
lot?
new, unless it's got something grandfathered in, such as the restaurant across the street. And I don't believe this has anything to do with the bank. It's just a coincidence that the bank's going in across the street. So I don't think it has anything to do with that. She contacted the city, tell me if I'm wrong, and about creating this as a commercial parking lot, being able to lease it out, and then that put it into the mode to where she has to meet code.
Now, okay, now correct me if I'm wrong, but she had it blocked off for a while, right? And so really, because she had it blocked off, that was whenever you guys gave a citation.
And I hate to go into the citation history on this, it's way off topic.
Because you guys went to her is what I'm going at.
So if,
You guys went to her and required her to do something
I-
instead of her
I-
coming to
we-
you guys.
I'm not prepared to go through the history of the contact with the city meeting by meeting by meeting. It's not relevant to this. If you'd like to meet afterward, we can definitely walk you through that. But I don't think it's good use of the time to go back and forth on the code history and enforcement at this time.
I was
The
asking
city
a
is,
question about the CUP and the PDM. basically.
Well, yeah, but I've answered that. The
That's where that
CUP
went,
is in place until hopefully we offer an option that's more affordable so we can move forward and take the pressure off of her and make it look nicer and make it safe so it's not dragging rocks out into the road and so on and so forth. But the whole purpose of this meeting is to let the public start seeing what staff has come up with for alternatives. And then we have our steps here of what's gonna go on. There's plenty more, public comment. In a couple weeks, they get to have public comment again with planning and zoning. They get to have public comment again with city council. The city, we're trying to listen to everyone and do it, but you have to have some kind of code. And I'll say it again, everyone hates codes right up until something ugly moves in next door to them
Like the Hill
because
Street School
there's
Apartments.
codes.
Yeah,
So,
right.
well, yeah,
Just
but that's
like
what's,
them.
housing needed to happen, and that's also off topic.
Of course it is. So the,
Of course it is.
yeah, so the, if Globe and Gila County both have no record of record, then is it retroactive, regulations then? I mean, cause if you guys don't even have this on record yet.
no, there is no legally non-conforming because the word legally means we have a record. Since there's no record, then it's not legal, so it's not qualifying as legally non-conforming.
So, I'll just go ahead and rewatch that later and process that later. So, let me go with this one. So, whenever Dana, and I know he already left the meeting.
He's
He's still there.
He's still there.
Hey, Dana? Yeah, no. Okay, there you go. So whenever you speak, right, just last thing I'm gonna say on that, whenever you speak, it's different, but whenever Justin and Tom both speak, I can hear them clearly. So if we could just go ahead and switch the speakers to whatever one those two people are using in the Zoom chat, that would be great. But as of right now, it really seems like the audio is intentionally distorted just to cover up what you're saying.
So the city staff can take under advisement the recommendation that Dana have a different microphone.
Another speaker.
Dana, I can hear you.
Dana, I've answered the question.
Yeah, Dana,
Dana,
it's,
we're good.
Dana, it's handled.
Dana, you're
It's
okay.
just a fun game. I know, it's so fun.
I didn't know that it's already been answered.
Yeah, asked and answered.
You play too many games. Too many games.
Okay, if there's anything new that actually pertains to what we're discussing right now, then
It was the
otherwise let us
CUP
move
and
on to our
the,
next steps, which
PM.
is asking the staff, directing the staff to start preparing the draft text amendment language, and then everything starts moving forward and we do it. Nothing unfortunately goes fast with the government, and I don't ever, doesn't matter which entity of the government you're ever dealing with, everyone has to just unfortunately be patient while this works its way out. Hopefully we come up with an alternative that Yolanda can use, that I'm with you, I hope for you that we come up with an alternative, and that's what our whole purpose here is, to try to take care of the community, even though, it feels like no one believes we're doing that, but that's really what we're trying to do.
It feels like anybody that gets a citation should definitely not even attend your PDMs, because that's where the CUP is actually associated to.
Okay, once again, that's off topic, so that's
Hey,
not.
that's a public notice. Just don't attend any of your meetings without an attorney, because otherwise you wind up getting sucked into certain regulations that you have to abide by. And for the most part, everybody that's gone past that parking lot for a couple months now has seen that she was actually blocking it off. And then that's whenever the citation happened. So in reality, I feel like you guys are, like you said, Paul Jepson, right, at 10:30 at night, you guys have not condemned a property in 30 years, because that's when, just compensation is paid. You guys don't pay just compensation, which AKA that's
How are we
theft.
talking about condemnation? This is,
off topic.
I do not,
Really off topic.
Don't
Okay,
get tired
thank you,
instead of
thank you, Tina.
instead of just offering just compensation.
Yeah, thank you, Tina. Appreciate it. We appreciate your comments. Thank you. So do we all have anything else we want to say?
Justin wants to say something.
Yeah, Justin?
Yeah, I want to make sure everybody's clear that we are members of the community, we're here with you, and this is not necessarily our code. Actually, it's not our code. This is a code that was adopted by a council in 1998, and we don't like it. I can tell you, our staff is not in love with certain portions of it at the moment, and that's why we are going through and we are trying to make this change, because we see this as an issue, and we see that we don't want all of Love paved in asphalt. It's not exactly what we're looking for. What we do want to make sure we have is a nice, safe, clean community that serves our people best, and that's why we're going through and we're trying to make this change. Because we want something different, right? We're not trying to do what Pasco has said. So I just want to make sure that's very clear to everybody. We're not trying to tag anybody. We have to follow what this council put forward for us and adopted in 1998, and it's a minute ago. And we are tasked with doing that, unfortunately, with upkeeping that, and now we're trying to make some changes to make it better for our community.
And it's certainly not personal with Yolanda. It just is unfortunate that this one thing has brought you into the middle of this. So it's not personal, and Justin, I think, just summed it up perfectly, that we're stuck with what we've got and we're trying to change it.
well, and Madam Chair, there is we have a list of many things that we think need to be updated and made more current. And this will keep the P and Z Commission very busy. And each change is a process that has hearings here, a public hearing, a time period for comment. This is very open, very transparent, because that's what we want to do. When people see issue after issue coming forward, because we're now at that point where we're trying to improve our code, improve our city, make it more compatible, and make it more modern for what we all determine that we need. So it's a long process, a lot of work, and we'll get the bugs out of the sound system.
Yeah, that really is, that's a problem.
No, we hear that.
It's a serious problem. Okay, so then I'm going to say that I would like to direct the staff this evening to prepare the draft text amendment language so we can start moving on our next steps. So with that, I'm going to say, is there anyone else, Shelley, that's got anything to say? Any other texts or anything, any other public comment? All right, well then I would say that the next thing we need to talk about is future agenda items and scheduling of meetings. Which, by the way, the reason it was on Thursday night tonight was because I believe it was Justin that couldn't do Wednesday night. So it wasn't moved for any nefarious reasons.
Well, yeah, and I like I say, the Thursday night meeting tonight was to accommodate people who wanted to appear in person here also, as I recall. It was more compatible with that, and so that was a request to the city trying to be as flexible as possible for those people who want to participate. We can't do it all the time, but I think in this case it was warranted to do that. But traditionally, Wednesday nights are our nights, and so we'll move forward with our Wednesday night schedule.
All right, so obviously well, maybe it's not our next agenda item. Dana, do we have anything that we might be doing before we hear from you back on the text amendment language?
Well, Madam Chair, as of now, we're getting a lot of applications. Just have to see where they're at in the process. But I don't have anything, I don't think, in 2 weeks for your next meeting. But if you recall, we do have solicitation out for public input on home occupations. And once we and that'll close in 2 weeks, so probably in a month from now, we'll have we'll be following back up on that topic.
All right.
If you do, we extended, you received my email for comments due yesterday, but we've extended that for another 2 weeks. So if you do see anything, or want to talk about or have any comment, please shoot it my way, and we're compiling on home occupations. We're compiling that information.
Okay, Dana, with that said, let me hang on 1 second. Alexandra, you also had a card and you wanted to talk about the home occupation.
It's not agendized tonight.
It's not?
No,
So it's not. All right.
So this, on the agenda, we spoke to our attorney tonight. This portion is for conversation between staff and you, because nothing has been agendized. The communication for future agenda items is for you to ask questions about what we can add on the agenda and staff to get enough detail so that we can properly present that. But it is not legal to have a conversation with anybody speaking to that, other than what do we need to know so that you can communicate to staff so they can best serve you. And I think we've done that on the home business, and that's as far as we can go.
Okay, so then if she has comments, she needs to just make them directly, like send an email and text or at some other time, not here.
So I will say this, that the process of the parking lot text amendment and home business will be the same, with a presentation here, a second presentation, a text amendment, a public outreach. It'll go to council will make any adjustments, a public hearing there. So there'll be many, many future opportunities to talk about home businesses. That will go through the process.
Okay.
And I know if you're on Facebook, I believe the city posted a way to provide comment
I just have a question about.
to review your last presentation, draft language, and provide comment, and that way we can tabulate and then look at
Okay,
and
thanks, Dana.
discuss the comment.
But can you come up here, please? Because we can't, there's no way we can hear you if you're talking.
I don't know what,
She just had, let her ask her
Just let
question.
her ask her.
okay. And
And
My question is in regard to the paper that we were given. And number 2 says future agenda items. And we also have papers that say up there we can do a public call that we'd like to speak about on the next agenda. But what you're telling me, sir, is I can't do that because I have to wait until you or whomever decide what is going to go out and we can't speak before?
it's honestly the law, right? I mean, it's a law. We're following the law. So what he just said was there's gonna be an opportunity, multiple opportunities for you to do it, and then
And so I think the clarification, the sheet that we use in the back is we use that for all meetings. And in the city council meeting, we have a first call to the public and a second call to the public. And those are wide open conversations where you would be able to respond or ask about that. But in the P&Z agenda, we do not have a call to the public where it's a wide open conversation for any member of the public to do that. You could go to the city council meeting and call the public, ask about and reference something to the P&Z. But currently, our practice historically is to not have a call to the public on the P&Z agenda. Go ahead.
You did mention that it was law, but where can I find that, if you don't mind me asking?
I think there's open meeting law. It would be under any type of, it's not Robert's Rules of Order, but the Arizona state statutes have that. But you can see that call to the public is an option. It is not required to have on there. And the fact that a quick explanation. It's if you bring up a topic in a public setting, and let's say you're talking about a fence and there's a neighbor there, and you're saying, hey, this fence has a problem, and you're talking about the neighbor, and then we have a conversation and we're all like, well, we're talking about this fence, but the neighbor was not notified legally 24 hours in advance that his fence was going to be discussed. And it's unfair to have that conversation. So a call to the public is a one-way conversation because we cannot respond, and that's how it is in a council meeting. If everything we talk about, people who have an interest in it or may be impacted by it should have a right to know 24 hours in advance so they can make arrangements to come here and respond to that. And we've been skating on the agenda was about future law for changes, and we've been going in many different directions, but at some point we have to be very careful that we don't go too far afield of what the agenda is. But specifically to the future agenda items, this is a limited conversation and not open for a wide-ranging back and forth conversation.
Would it be possible to have that noted on the next time instead of just saying future agenda items, which would be the agenda items that will be discussed by you all at the next event?
Yeah,
I would like that recommendation just to be heard, because my intent on coming here today, one, was to speak on behalf of Yolanda and the things that I feel that are going on that are unjust there. My second reason for coming today is I do have a very important call to the public based on information the City of Globe already let out.
Okay.
Which means,
So then that
please,
would
sir,
be the
may
next
I
city
finish?
council meeting.
May I, please?
So-
So,
No, please.
Please,
May
you're
I
trying to
finish?
backdoor into.
no, sir,
a-
I'm not. May I finish, please?
Okay,
I was
but
asked to step down because I interrupted. I've respected you. Can you please respect my time as well?
Okay, all right,
Thank you.
so you have
my
a technical question, that's fine,
Sir,
but,
I'm talking, please. I'm being so kind. I respected what she said. I have not interrupted at all.
okay.
But I'd like to get what I'm saying out as it's my time to speak.
And please, hopefully it's appropriate.
It is very appropriate and it entirely
And legal.
pertains. As I'm saying, if I have something that I need to call to action and the page is saying future agenda items,
But
I
that's
find
for
it-
us.
Correct, but here's my thing. Online, the City of Globe themselves posted that there are things going into place. And the first thing said, it has to be done through a call to action.
I'm
So
not
I
sure what you're
filled out a
talking.
form for a
Yeah,
call
I'm
to
sorry.
action.
Yeah, I'm sorry, and that's completely off topic again. So
call to
Dana, you've got the
I
direction for
can
the
show it to you,
staff.
sir.
Okay, but, stay after and we can talk.
Okay, yes,
Okay.
I would love to show
Yeah.
it to you. But as I asked in the future, would it just be considered to, like,
Yeah,
that
and-
pertains to this specific meeting only, so I'm not,
Yeah,
like, misconstrued on what I'm reading and
That's-
it's clear?
and that may be a fair announcement we can
Yes, sir.
do.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
But
you.
stay after, we can talk.
Thank you.
Ma-
All right,
Madam
so
Chair, I'm so sorry, but we do have another.
you do have one? Okay, let's hear it.
This is from Luann Rickett from 244 South Second Street. If the property is along the ADOT jurisdiction, will the city provide the ordinance from the state along with the proposals so that the citizens are aware that any ordinance being proposed is in compliance with the state? Is there a possibility ordinance along ADOT could be different than other parts of the city?
Perhaps Dana could include that, in whatever he's.
Yeah, Dana, maybe on, when you're preparing this, can we get what ADOT's requirements,
And-
ballpark, what their requirements might be, or no?
Yes, and, yeah, we have staff that were engineers for ADOT that could probably explain that.
That's excellent. And again, not for tonight, but for that future meeting where we shall discuss the text amendment.
Right, correct. All right, so do we have, for our personal, as the commission, future agenda items, are we ready to schedule anything yet, or are you guys just gonna let us know when you are ready?
We'll reach out, we'll try and get something before you in 2 weeks, but you'll know by next week, or, yes. But definitely, your first meeting in, let's see, that would be your first meeting on the 3rd of September, we might be able to get something on the agenda, is everybody available by chance?
Yes.
I am, yes.
I am.
Yes.
Justin, you available on September 3rd?
Yeah, I can it right now.
Yeah, we have,
I'm available.
Okay, so if September 3rd works out, Dana, it sounds like we're all available.
very good, I'll reach out, or shall
Very good.
And then we're asking on future agenda items, I think we had discussed for our one after this one, we were gonna look at the landscape code elements that had been started with council.
Yes, and so we have Linda and Paulina listening, they're aware, I did follow up from our conversation, so maybe we'll have that on the agenda, but I need that from the project manager. So I'll pursue that, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes,
not a problem, I knew we weren't gonna get this one, so.
thank you, Dana.
Thanks, Dana. All right. Does anyone else have anything else to say? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
I second.
Motion to adjourn, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor or against, nay? Motion passes.
All right, thank you.